Hi, I'm John Maxwell. When the top companies in the world are looking for trainers, speakers, and coaches, there's one name that stands above the rest, and that's Maxwell Leadership. Our certified team members have gotten proven results for companies all over the globe, and our reputation, I'm proud to say, is second to none. Some of our members have risen to the top of their profession, including the one you're going to meet today. I proudly introduce you to my friend Bob Fabian Zinka.
Welcome to the Leadership and Success Podcast with your host, Coach BZ, where we help you lead with purpose and succeed with impact. If you're ready to grow into the kind of leader others want to follow, this podcast is for you. If you're determined to elevate your success and leave a lasting legacy, this podcast is for you. As my mentor, Dr. John C. Maxwell reminds us, everything rises and falls on leadership. Our goal is simple: to inspire you, challenge you, and equip you with insights that can transform the trajectory of your leadership journey. Welcome aboard to another episode of the Leadership and Success Podcast with Coach BZ.
What's the common challenge that you see organizations face when it comes to leadership today?
Common challenges. Everybody's had unique relationships in whether the business, military, or on the battlefield. Personalities matter when you're a leader. Reactions to stress, individuals or organizational challenges to a crisis, whether that crisis seems to be an immediate problem or a crisis that they see coming down. Organization or reorganization. Do I have the right people in the right places to do the right things at the right time? Communication. We have all had issues getting information from the people that we need to get the information in time in order to make timely decisions. And then transitions. Transitions in the military may be going from the defense to the offense. Or in the business world, it may be going from a startup getting their Series A to their Series B sort of funding, lots of different money, and then now they're trying to transition from a 8-person shop to a 50-person shop. And that can lead to friction in the organization, and all of that can be used as a framework when you talk about battlefields or business.
Chris, your approach is pretty.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Leadership and Success Podcast. We have a fantastic guest waiting for us in the green room. Before I bring him on, let's do what we always do when we meet, what we call here our moment of gratitude. So if you would, maybe close your eyes and put yourself in your happy place and think about one thing that you are grateful for right now. Like I've been since June 10th, I'm really grateful for freedom. I really believe that every human being was meant to be free. And I love America because it is the home of the brave, the land of the free. That is really the foundational core value this country was based upon. Right? Pat Henry says, give me liberty or give me death. And all men are created equal. And it's because of that freedom that America eventually separated from the monarchy in England. But anyway, so grateful for freedom. So let us know in the comment where you guys are joining us from, what city, what state. And since we are now a global show, which country as well. And let us know what you are grateful for right now. And if you do have a question for the Colonel, type it in the comment and we're going to be answering live. All right, let me see if I can properly introduce our guest today. Today, I really have the honor and the privilege to welcome Colonel Christopher Hossfeld, U.S. Army retired. He is a combat veteran, infantry officer, former battalion commander, strategist, educator, mentor, entrepreneur, and lifelong student of leadership. Colonel Hossfeld served for more than 27 years in the U.S. Army, including 4 combat deployments with leadership responsibility ranging from small staff to large multinational organization. One of the defining chapters of his career was commanding an approximately 800-soldier air assault infantry battalion within the storied 101st Airborne Division, organized as a multinational task force that included U.S. and Romanian forces. He later served as a senior observer, controller, trainer, chief of staff for 1st Army Division East, and faculty member at the U.S. Army War College, where he helped educate senior military and civilian leaders in strategy, campaigning, systems thinking, risk, joint operation, and the employment of military power. Following military retirement, Colonel Hossfeld brought those lessons into higher education and national security research at the University of Texas at Austin. Today, he serves as the director of program at Argonne Mechatronics and as founder and CEO of Barrel Strength Leadership. We're going to be hearing more about that later during the podcast, where he combines history, mentorship, reflection, and immersive battlefield staff rides to help leaders learn how to make better decisions when circumstances are uncertain and the stakes are high. And what makes the Colonel particularly interesting for this conversation is that he has experienced leadership from almost every angle, right? Being a follower, a commander, a combat leader, trainer of commanders, strategist, professor, mentor, entrepreneur, and also veteran navigating his own transition. So today we are going beyond leadership theory. We are talking about leadership at barrel strength, undiluted, tested by experience, strengthened through reflection, and ultimately poured into the next generation. So without any further ado, please help me welcome Colonel Christopher Hossfeld to the Leadership and Success podcast. Good morning, Colonel. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. How about yourself, BZ?
Fantastic. I'd always like to start, sir. Is there something that you are grateful for this morning?
So the things that I'm grateful for is the resiliency of the human spirit.
Yes.
I had a daughter who significant accident. You're not sure if they're even going to live back in January. And this week I got to watch her make the decision that she wanted to start walking again with, unassisted, and got to see her do that. It's just amazing. And I think that things like that incredible human spirit, where they can transform themselves, is something to be incredibly grateful for.
Wow, that is so powerful. Thank you for sharing, sir. And by the way, I believe you know this guy from Austin. That's your back of the woods, sir.
Yep.
See,
That's my buddy Brian. Great leader himself. Just recently published a book. So if you haven't gotten it, Brian's a great student of leadership himself.
Yes, the Colonel was on the podcast, and yes, his instant best-selling book is something everybody needs to read for sure. And also, Colonel Cook, if you have a question for your buddy, please let us know, sir. Let's drill him today. He's on the hot seat. Thank you so much, sir, for being here. But also, sir, another thing I would like to ask, is there something about you that might be kind of unique? Most people may not know when they first meet you. Maybe a super strength or superpower or something.
Oh, wow. I wish I had a superpower. I think, the one thing about me that most people don't know going into it is that, like all reasonable good students of leadership, I have made more than my fair share of mistakes.
Yes.
And those that have invested in me are the reasons I've actually been successful, right?
Wow.
It's that those that did something for me, those are the people that got me through hard times, or to be able to be in a position of greater success or greater authority and responsibility.
That is really amazing. We do stand on the shoulder of giants. Wow. And
Absolutely.
before we talk about Colonel Hossfeld, could you take us back, sir, to Chris Hossfeld, the man behind the myth and the legend? Who are you at your core, sir?
At my core, I'm a lifelong learner, so naturally curious. I've always loved history. The great thing is I have a pretty decent sense of humor. I stopped doing math well when they added a second letter to equations. And so, I think leadership is dynamic, and it's just something to be really nurtured in others, right? How do you invest in them in a way that they're
Yes.
going to actually not grow into your position, but grow beyond your position?
Wow, that is powerful. And talking about loving history, you do recommend quite a few books, especially for World War II era. I think we're going to have time to at least cover a couple of those because we do read a lot here. I started the digital bookshelf, I think it was May of last year, with just 3 books. Today we have more than 600 recommendations from great guests like yourself. That is really wonderful. So, if I may ask you, what originally drew you toward military service and more specifically the US Army?
So it was one of those weird things. Growing up, I actually had this sort of natural inclination towards service.
Mm.
My dad was a police officer. A lot of his family had come from an Air Force background. I had an uncle on my mom's side who had served in the Navy for a little bit. But it was one of those things that I really just kind of felt that desire to serve something larger than myself.
Yes.
And that really is what drove me to look into being able to do that.
Wow.
Um, uh, I wanted to be a part of something that helped me fulfill my own purpose without understanding that that's what I was trying to do.
That's really powerful. I guess the Army is like be all you can be. It's powerful. And did, did you once you decided the Army was where you wanted to go, sir? Did you want to be an officer from the get go?
Um, I think being an officer was part of it. Most importantly, was who's going to help me pay for college.
Yes.
So that was, that was a part of it. So whether or not I had started out with being enlisted or and then going through or being able to go backwards, and do a degree through a reserve officer training corps or a
Mhm.
service academy, I learned a little bit of all of that. I started at a service academy, did not finish. I'm not the smartest person out there, so I learned from some mistakes. I didn't know how I was going to pay for college, so I enlisted in the National Guard,
Wow.
and then ended up at the end of that coming when I was coming back to school, then getting and securing a scholarship that
Wow.
came out of my own leadership experiences and someone taking a chance on me.
Yes.
And all
Wow.
of that then is how it kind of comes from all those different parts uh, and pieces are the things that have made me who I am and how I got to where I was. So it wasn't necessarily
Yes.
one nice, easy path. I don't
Mhm.
think I take anything easy, but that's okay. Builds
Wow.
character.
That is really quite a story. So from the academy to being enlisted in the National Guard and then retiring in active duty army, 28 years later, that's just amazing. Because I believe you entered service in 1994, right, sir?
Yeah, that's the time when
Wow.
the clock really started ticking.
That's amazing. But at what point did the army change from just something you were doing, into who you actually became?
That is a great question. You start dipping your toe into it and see. Well, I did not. I dipped my toe and then I dove head first into the pool and
Ah,
went to try and really take on. I think what hit me the most is the values associated with that service. Things
mm,
of honor and integrity, selfless service,
yes.
real values. When I made the personal connection to those values, that they were
Mhm.
important to me and they were important to the organization,
Yes.
that's when really that alignment is what allows someone to say, this is something for me to commit to.
That is so insightful because I know a lot of people. they get into the army, maybe it's for college or the VA mortgage or some type of benefit or whatever. We get in the military for all kinds of different reasons. But then they say, okay, I do my 4 year and then, I am out. And then they end up spending a lifetime, 25, 30, 35 years. And it is just amazing how that happened. And I know you mentioned, you do stand on the shoulder of so many giants, so many people have impacted your life and your career. But who were some of the few people of the first leaders who kind of saw something in you that you just had not yet seen in yourself? And what did they teach you, sir?
I've had an incredible run of lots of different, very impactful leaders. One was my very first company commander as a young lieutenant. His ability to put trust in me as a young lieutenant, a young officer, very junior officer, and allowing me freedom to experiment with what I wanted and keep it within his intent and purpose for the organization. That was very impactful. I had various leaders who then recognized that either part of what I did or how I helped shape the organization, their trust in me and their trust in the organization to no longer have to take direct reports from me as the leader, but that someone I had trained had the candidness to go to somebody and say, my boss needs to be doing only the things that they can.
Wow.
If my reporting, if my ability to provide you, this senior leader, the information that my boss could be telling you, but I've been saying the same thing. If I'm not doing that correctly, then you need to fire me. But my boss has the trust in me. Wow. Right? Those are the things that really can make you feel incredibly grateful and feel better aligned to what you're doing in the service.
That is really, really powerful. And again, you started as an E1 all the way up to 06 Colonel, retired. Is there any leadership belief as enlisted or even as a young lieutenant, like you mentioned, sir, that Colonel Hossfeld eventually discovered was wrong?
I'm going to say it once again because it's something I put in, as a hashtag on investing in people. I had a drill sergeant, right, who became the Central Command Sergeant Major, senior enlisted officer for all of the Central Command. But his investment in me as a young soldier and recognizing my leadership skills and then helping me pull those out, even as a young enlisted soldier, those who did some of the same things, those are very powerful tools.
That is really powerful. I want to spend just a second here because I feel like, especially for junior officers sometimes, especially for those who come off the street who don't have any prior military experience, they kind of feel like, oh, I am an O1 or I'm a second lieutenant or first lieutenant, therefore I outrank the drill sergeant or E7, E8 or E9. But the truth is, the sergeant, part of their job is to actually train and mentor the junior officer, isn't it? And when you're a junior officer, even if you technically outrank them, you really need to be learning from them and from their vast experience. Isn't that right, sir?
Absolutely. And I'm loving the questions coming in. You've got some great, awesome questions coming in here.
Yes, sir. Before I go to record, I wanted to ask you one more question. What did the Army have to teach you the hard way throughout your entire career, sir?
What the Army had to teach me that I was already a student of is really the two things is how do you be both critical, engage critical thinking, whether it's about yourself, the insightfulness of the understanding of your own strengths, weaknesses, your limitations, or what you can do when you're pushed that you didn't know that you had as a reserve. That's where I think the military really shines, is how do you shine a light on the things that are, when everything's stripped away, what is at your core? Do you function in chaos? What
Yes.
skills do you have as an individual? How much trust can you put in other people?
Yes.
Um, how do you recognize what people are going to be able to do or not be able to do in crisis when they're under stress? Those are the things that I didn't. You know it. You've seen it in movies.
Yes.
What does it really look like,
Mm.
and what does it look like for you? That's a very
Wow.
personal question. That's a very personal thing that you have to go through.
That is so true, because I'm sure it's very similar in the army as well, but in the Navy, sometimes the Navy puts you in a position where you kind of have to sink or swim, and they do it very, very early on, because we take a lot of leadership training, and but it's a bunch of theory, it doesn't really connect. But once you are the commanding officer, once you are the XO, you are the department head, then you really have to see what you are made of, and many times you discover what you are able to do, and you are really, I guess, surprised by your own hidden ability. That's quite something, isn't it?
It is. It's sometimes being stripped away of all that stuff
Yes.
really shows you who you are. You know, that sink or swim moment. I no longer have floaties. Uh-oh, I really have to do this.
Yes.
Uh, is really a challenge. But what I would say is they wouldn't have put you in that sink or swim moment if they didn't believe that you had the tools, the capability, or the capacity
Yes.
to meet that challenge.
Mm. That is really insightful, and you are correct. So we do have a lot of questions in the chat. Let's see. The first question is from Daniel from YouTube. He says, "As AI expand decision support, where should leaders draw the line between using technology to improve situational awareness and outsourcing human judgment, moral courage, and accountability leadership require?"
That is a phenomenally insightful question when you're trying to make decisions about, do I spend the $200 a year on Claude or whatever it is that you're doing for your AI support, or how much you're investing in that for your organization or for yourself.
Yes.
I think the hardest part that I think Daniel is really connecting us to is, how do you write the right question?
Mm.
If you're writing it to confirm something you already know, you're already limiting yourself in awareness, judgment, and accountability. You're offshoring it to the AI.
Mm.
But if you are using it to confirm or do analysis of various different data points to help you understand, right? To get from data to information to intelligence to situational awareness.
Yes.
Some people can conflate, I believe, situational awareness with lots of data in front of them. That's not necessarily
Mm.
situational awareness. The situational awareness comes from the analysis of those things.
Yes.
And what's important, that only when you add judgment, morality,
Mm-hmm.
ethics, and your own accountability. I'm the person who wrote the questions or even created the AI agent to
Yes.
help me through these decisions. The minute you say, I'm just going to go with what it is and not ask that second, third, or fourth order question, did you account with or account for X, Y, or Z? You've
Wow.
offshored your responsibility as a leader.
Yes. Wow. So there's definitely some things that AI will never be able to do, isn't there?
It's going to be very hard. And I think
Yeah.
that that's the part the AI can help you understand or bring disparate pieces of information together in a way that
Yeah.
allows you to be able to, rather than reading hundreds of pages of data and reports, it can synthesize it very quickly, but it
Yeah.
is not going to replace the judgment,
Human.
morality, ethics that actually
Mm.
make the accountability of the decision yours.
Yes, so I'm talking about judgment. For the next segment, let's talk about the crucible of command. And by the way, we have Tim Williams coming to us all the way from West Berkshire, United Kingdom, and
Fabulous.
comes from a military family. Wow. His grandfather was CEO of the 53rd Reconnaissance Regiment in World War II. Well, thank you for your service, Tim, because I know when someone in the family serves, it's really the entire family that is impacted. So the first question I have for you, sir, you did command an air assault infantry battalion in the 101st Airborne Division. They're very legendary. What does assuming responsibility for hundreds of soldiers and their families do to your understanding of leadership?
I think when you go and people like Brian, who's on here, and others, or someone whose family was the commanding officer of a specific. I think part of it is how do you, especially when you're assuming the role of responsibility in a new organization,
Yes.
how do you honor the legacy, the climate and culture as it is, but then modify it to best align with your values, your requirements for leadership, and how you want it as an organization to act or react on your behalf?
Yes.
I think that that becomes a very interesting part of. I had come from various other light infantry organizations, but I'm going into the 101st. How do I understand that? How do I know that? What's different about the 101st versus these other organizations?
Yes.
And that's where, by personally being a student of history, that tapped into something for me about understanding that legacy and what are we attempting to do, and that I use now when I do these immersive leadership experiences. How do you tap into what that organization is? Or
Wow.
if you're in a new organization, what type of organizational climate or culture that you want to pick the best from 7 or 8 different organizations you've been a part of?
Yes.
How are you going to put it into a blender to make it uniquely yours?
That's really powerful. So for those who are listening, especially JO, who maybe get promoted to become a commander or commanding officer for a specific unit, what would you advise they do for their very first command? They've never been in command before.
The first time is you have to come in, and this is the hard part, I think, right now, especially even in generations that we have right now. You have to come in comfortable with the job that you are supposed to do. If you're learning on the job or expecting someone to teach you how to be a leader once you are a leader, you're behind the curve.
Yes.
If you want to be a leader, you better start being a student of leadership now.
Wow. It's powerful. Probably the best advice I've ever heard. But it seems like in the military, from my experience, even when I was an E1 in the Navy, seaman recruit, it's like the Navy was preparing me to lead even at that lowest rank. It's like
Yes.
everything I went through, even through boot camp, it was, if not anybody else, at least influence and lead myself, right? Know exactly what the standard requirements are and making sure you meet
Right.
and exceed them. And then being able to influence, even at that low rank, influence the people around you. And then when I finally I went from E1 to E3, I became a seaman. When I had 2 seaman recruits, I was in charge of. So the Navy puts you in charge of people right away. It's like they don't have time to waste, and you kind of figure it out as you move up
Yes.
the rank, and I'm sure in the army that's the case as well. But now, there is something when I really had the privilege to become a commanding officer, I really stole from the army, but it became my leadership mantra, right? Mission first, but people always. Because if you're in charge of a unit, your unit has a mission, you have something to do. You definitely need to do that. But you always have to take care of your people. I guess the question I have for you, sir, as we talk about mission, accomplishment, and taking care of our people, have you ever, sir, faced a situation where those two responsibilities appear to conflict? You feel like you have to choose between the mission and actually really caring for your folks? And how did you navigate that?
So those are the crucible events.
Yes.
When you're having to make decisions between achievement of the mission and mitigating the risk to your force, right? It's the same thing even at the business world. Am I going to run this person ragged that they're end up going to leave the organization because they just can't do it anymore, or that you are in a position where you're having to make a decision about this really does need to be done, and the potential negative outcome of not achieving the mission is actually larger than the potential individual sacrifices that are going to have to be made to get there. That's hard. That's deep. That is a very deep personal conversation that you have to have with yourself before, during, and especially after. You may be able to do it once, but can you do it again? Can you provide that level of care and discernment and understanding so that you're not gambling away your most valued resources, that you are mitigating risk and taking measured or seeking out awesome opportunities to achieve success for you or your organization while still managing that very precious resource that you've been given.
Well, so having said that, it seems to me like trust is really, I guess, the most essential thing to have within your team, right? If you take over a unit, I mean, they need to be able to trust you. How do you earn the trust of your soldiers when you don't have much time to do so? Like you are deploying, let's say on the 101st Airborne Division. How do you build that trust quickly?
That is a great question, and I don't think there is a one size fits all answer. And that's the unfortunate thing. People be like, "Oh, that's great. Let me take this patch and I'm going to throw it on. You instantly trust me." There are certain things. There are indicators of it. Schools, in the military, certain ribbons and certain things comes with a trust that they have been able to do certain things and have met standards to achieve it, whether that's by rank or otherwise.
Yes.
But I think the other part of it, and this gets to where, a unique opportunity I had in taking my command from the 101st is I was given a full another infantry battalion of Romanians to command. So not only am I commanding my own, but I'm now been given this multinational organization, which then included also some Bulgarians, doubling the size of my organization. I had to find a way of involving them, their leadership, reorganizing even the staff of the organization, the processes, but showing an inherent level of trust in their experiences and their processes up front, while then finding the right ways to ensure that they are staying within the boundaries that you want afterwards. You have to have that implied amount of trust up front. But you can only do that by being an authentic leader, by being transparent up front about what your expectations are. If you don't do that, they no longer, and if you say, oh, I trust you, you're going to do this stuff, and that's not good enough,
Yes.
right?
Wow.
I trust that you can do X, Y, or Z. I'm going to place a little bit of boundaries to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that you're within what I want. Once you do that, the trust wheels are on, and
Wow.
I can then adjust the boundaries, the authorities and the responsibilities at different echelons.
Hmm. Well, that is really insightful because one of my mentor told me, right, rank is rented, but trust is earned. And what you just mentioned, sir, it's not just trust within your own organization, but now we're talking about the multinational organization with a Romanian and some Bulgarian as well. How did you build trust across different cultures and personalities too? Maybe languages as well, different organization and nationalities. That sounds like it's really challenging.
Uh, I I think the most important thing, and it gets to one of the questions that I see in the queue. I'm kind of already starting to want to
Yeah.
answer it because I think it's so important.
Yes.
Daniel's got a great question leading in there. In the army, in the military, is as as a sailor,
Mm-hmm.
I can look at gauges and I can look at a dashboard on
Yes.
something, but until you go down to that compartment
Mm,
and have that personal relationship with an individual, that leadership by walking around,
yes.
you can't tell whether or not when crisis is happening.
Mm,
If I've got a relationship beforehand, I can hear it in their tone of voice.
yes.
I can anticipate them. I
Mm.
can mitigate
So know
and
your troops.
identify poor leadership
Yes.
problems earlier to
Before an
mitigate
escalate.
them, that help restore
Mm,
accountability, respect, and trust,
wow.
not only between you as the leader, but you as the leader with not only that one subordinate that may not be meeting
Mm-hmm.
your expectations for leadership, but those that they are supposed to be leading.
Wow.
How do you find out? Here's one of my favorite things that you can ask. How many of you have ever worked for a toxic, absent, or politically appointed leader?
Mm-hmm. Everybody.
And then you say, well, what did it do to you or to the organization? And people can rattle it off very quickly.
Yes.
Then you ask, how do you recognize it in your subordinates?
Mm, wow.
Suddenly, that comes around with you doing the accountability, you establishing respect and rebuilding trust in that organization by being
Mm,
there, by seeing it, by understanding what is it that the various different levels need.
wow.
It's not about that you're telling them that it's okay to jump 3 to 5 levels of, levels of the chain of command, but that you are interested in the success at all levels. That's
Mm,
something different. That rebuilds trust in the organization that they can say
yes.
and provide you that unvarnished or unfiltered truth that you
Mm.
may need to hear in order to make better decisions on behalf of the organization.
I guess also you need psychological safety then so that your people are not afraid to actually speak out when they need to, right?
That, and what questions are you asking that allow you to be able to identify
Mm,
poor leadership? How do
yes.
you define that? In the days of AI, it's very easy to be able to say, oh, this team is meeting this metric, boom, 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 boom. But if you don't
Mm,
ask, well, is it the same team this week as it was 6 weeks ago? And
mm,
you go, no, wait a minute.
yes.
And it was a different one a couple weeks before that. Well, they're burning through people, yet still,
Mm,
if you didn't ask the right question,
yes. Wow.
that's when it those that those bad problems
Yes.
fester.
That's really something. And for those who are just listening, because a portion of my audience only listens on Apple Podcasts, they don't watch the video. The question from Daniel was Colonel Christopher Hossfeld. When an organizational systems promote, reward, or protect poor leadership, what is the first practical action a leader can take to restore accountability, respect, and rebuild trust without creating a culture of fear? Very important question. Wow.
It's a really great, insightful question. Because you're asking about, okay, the first question I would have is, then how are you choosing your leaders?
Mhm.
Because it's saying that the organization systems promote or reward or protect poor leadership. You're asking the wrong questions. You're measuring the wrong things
Mm.
in your organization.
Well, so you remind me because I think it was Simon Sinek who had I think it was a TED talk where he kind of mentions that because some people are pretty competent, they can do the job, they do it very well, they bring in a lot of money to the organization. However, they may not be fully aligned with the core values of the organization. They may be jerks and they may not care about people
Yep.
at all, but they bring in so much money, nobody wants to fire them, even though they are completely misaligned with the core values of what the organization says is what they value. So how do we handle that?
Ooh, that is a very measured tool that you use sparingly. They are literally the hammer to break glass in case of emergency. That is not the right tool to use for everything. You as the leader, overall leader of the organization, whether that's one team within a series of teams, that's still your responsibility to choose the right tool for the right job.
Yes.
The client that needs a little bit softer touch, the little bit more personal relationship, that is not the person who is the bull in the china shop and is just going to get it done. That's not the right person to use in that situation. So to me, it's about, when do I use that tool?
Yes.
And when do I use them for the right thing and use it sparingly?
I guess leadership is both a science and an art, and there seems to be a requirement to become a leader to also develop your emotional intelligence, isn't there, sir?
Absolutely. Leadership is not a binary, if this and this, then this.
Yes.
The ifs, the ands, and thens, there should be about 15 to 20 in each one of those columns.
Wow.
That you are consistently going through and asking yourself. It's dynamic. You can't use the same person for the same thing. And so to use a military, one single frigate going up against an aircraft carrier, probably not good. You're outmatched. It's the wrong tool for the wrong thing.
Wow. So insightful. And by the way, we also have Ngodo Magdalene all the way from Nigeria. So a lot of people watching from all
Awesome.
around the world. So let us know if you have questions from England, from Nigeria, and of course the US. Oh, we're almost running out of time. We only have about 15 minutes left. Let me ask you this. In leadership, generally speaking, we always think about the great leader in charge, command and control, and then you pass down your knowledge or intent to people. But sometimes as a leader, I found out that I also learn from my direct report, even the most junior officer, even enlisted. I think it takes a lot of humility to lead. I guess the question I have for you, sir, what did your soldier teach you about leadership throughout your career, especially when you were the commanding officer in charge? What did you learn from your soldiers?
I more than I could give in a 10-minute question and answer session.
Yes.
But if I were to distill it down, is the importance of purpose. And the importance of purpose, what I learned from my subordinates, is that the task or the way that I thought it should be done, when I directed it exactly this way, I maybe had a 60% success rate. Still
Mm-hmm.
pretty gosh darn good.
Yes.
But when I gave intent and
Mm.
said, these are the types of outcomes that I want, or these are the types of outcomes we're driving to eventually, and they
Yes.
go, boss, I can get us there earlier. And
Wow.
this is what we're going to do. You're like, I never even would have thought about it that way.
Yes.
It reinforced for me that importance of giving purpose
Yes.
and allowing them the creativity.
So powerful. I think for the junior officer listening to me now, one thing I had a lot of trouble with, it took me a while to figure out, because for many people, they get promoted as a leader of people because they are so good as an individual contributor. They do the work so well. And what ends up happening, I know it was my case, it was difficult for me to delegate, because I'm like, if I delegate to you, it's going to take too long. It's not going to look as good. No, just let me do it and be done with it. But as you keep doing that, then you're not giving your people the opportunity to learn and to make mistake and to get better. So what would you advise to a new manager, a new leader, how to actually let go and really, like you just said, give your people the freedom to even many times, surprise you. You really, oh, I didn't even think about it that way, and now you have even a much better way of getting things done.
I think the first thing you need to be able to do is quickly evaluate and define what you think is your risk tolerance.
Mm.
If you can identify your risk tolerance,
Yes.
not that it is exactly this, but this is the range of things that fall within that risk tolerance, you are then more willing to provide better guardrails for that individual to achieve that success within that broader context, right? That allows you to be able to say this is acceptable risk,
Yes.
whether it's small failures that they can make along the way, that then you can then bring them back on, right? You got to use a Navy or a sailing, small tacks that they're not, banging back and forth and having to really work so hard. But if
Yes.
you're able to help keep them in here, as it goes, you can broaden that, knowing that they're actually going to be far still or remain closer to the, the azimuth that you want them
Yes.
to achieve.
So talking about risk, and we know that error is human, and I think for the most part we learn more from our failure than we do our successes. I really love this coin I got from one of my best keeper. One side says success, but the other side says failure. No, success, failure, two sides of the same coin. What has failure? How has failure shaped your life, sir?
Resiliency.
Hmm.
And the failures have taught me it's all the things that you would expect that failure teaches you, humility. It teaches you an understanding of what may not look right, feel right, may not help you achieve what it is that you thought you were going to achieve. But it also really has allowed me to be able to say failure is not defining,
Hmm.
failure is refining,
Wow.
right? I can fail, but I am not defined by that failure. I can
Yes.
fail and it will help me refine the ways that I want to be able to achieve success across personal, professional.
Wow. Then the question I have, especially in the military, because it's not just like in the industry or Silicon Valley where you make mistakes and worst that can happen, you lose money or your reputation. But in the military, people can actually die. Uh, how? I guess the question I have for you, sir: how do you ensure I guess one of my mentors told me, okay, two types of failure. One, you fall into a ditch, not a big problem, just come back on the manual. But or you can hit a pole, the car can get total, and somebody might die. So we don't want those type of failure. The small failure, no, you have those guardrails like you talked about earlier. That is perfectly fine. I guess my question for you, sir, is how do you ensure that yourself or your direct report do not make those failures that are fatal or you cannot recover from while they are
Ooh,
still learning?
the unfortunate thing is I've made those failures. So I wish I had a great, awesome and pithy answer to be able to
Yes.
give your audience immediately on that. What I think I have learned is the importance, well, in the failure or afterwards,
Mm-hmm.
is the ability to have the discussion, whether it's, I'm asking myself,
Yes.
did I make legitimate, reasonable decisions with the information I had available to me at that point?
Yes.
If I did, then now I can go into and say, ooh, if I'd had this one piece of information, I could have made a different decision.
Mm-hmm.
Not, woe is me, I failed, I didn't have that piece of information, so it's that person's fault. No. What is it that I need to learn from that? Is that a critical piece of information I need in a system, a process, or a person
Yes.
to help me when I'm in a similar situation in the future?
Wow. So every failure becomes a learning experience.
If you don't look at it that way, if you look at it as, again, as if you look at failure as the defining moment of your life, it can be because you learned something from it. But if you don't use it as a refining moment in your life, you're
Mm,
going to dwell on it. And that is a horrible place to be mentally, emotionally,
yeah.
spiritually,
Wow.
impacts you physically.
Yes.
But if you use it as a refining moment, I think that that can be incredible. And if you
Mm,
look at successes in the military, if you're looking at Eisenhower, who becomes president of the United States, makes
yes.
incredible decisions. He made a couple of really poor decisions in World War II. The choice of Montgomery over Patton, the
Mm-hmm.
market garden versus, the continue to go in. But
Yes.
it was a reasonable decision with the information he had available to him. But maybe not all the right pieces and parts got to him.
Mm,
Okay. Our failures at Kasserine Pass, which make significant changes in how we fight
yes.
combined arms in World War II,
Wow.
is a failure at the beginning of the North African campaign. And it influences everything we do
Afterward. Yes.
afterwards. They were
Mm,
not defining moments, they were refining moments.
wow. That's really powerful. And having led in an environment where decision carried consequences, far beyond quarterly earning like it does in Silicon Valley or organizational metrics, what does combat teach you about leadership that just cannot be learned in a classroom or reading a book?
Leadership is more than a single point in time. It's dynamic. I think that that is the part, is that in combat in particular, how do I get to the golden nugget piece of information that is going to allow me to achieve my mission at the least risk to my force,
Yes.
to the people, to the resources? You still want that in business, right? How do I make the most profit? But is it the most profit right now, or is it the most profit over time, because of the amount of time you're going to spend on this one client is actually
Mm,
going to lead to so much future investment?
wow.
It's, how do you define that? How do you set up that process to make that determination
Yes.
when it's either a compressed time frame or you're looking at it, how does this relate to not only solving today's problem, but
Yes.
tomorrow's, next quarter's, next year's?
That is really powerful. You made me think of what General Colin Powell said about the P45 7-year old, right? Most people, they want to wait until they have like 91% of the info before they make a decision. But when you do that, it's going to be way, way too late. General Powell says once you have at least 45%, you can make a decision. And then, of course, now, if it's not the right decision, the feedback you get, you can always make a better decision. I guess the question for you, sir, is how did you make decision when the information was incomplete, time is disappearing, and the cost of getting it wrong may be enormous? How did you figure out what's the best decision with those
It's
parameters?
everything that we did before then.
Hmm.
It's all of the discussions. It's the framework understanding that
Yes.
this is the framework with how I look at things. This is the framework of how I relate to issues, challenges.
Mm-hmm.
That allowed my subordinates and my superiors better ways of communicating with me: intent, purpose, risk, what's going on, so that we could more quickly and more of not only more efficiently but more effectively move through the sequence of questions, whether
Mm.
it's instantaneous internal to get beyond that immediate moment of crisis.
Yes.
It was everything that went into it. Me then being able to anticipate what a subordinate is going to do. If I say one word on the radio with one tone,
Mm.
and in some cases, my own personal favorite is it was the tone and clear and concise report from a subordinate, the
Yes.
radio telephone operator for one of my subordinates, them being calm on the radio allowed
Mm.
me to remain calm in a moment of crisis and do only the things that I wanted to do that
Wow.
allowed us to get through that moment.
So in that case, sir, as a leader, how do you create enough psychological and organizational trust within your organization so that even a junior person can say, sir, I think you are wrong, especially when it's a matter of life and death and you want them to speak up regardless of rank? How do you create such environment?
Practice. Giving people the opportunity to be able to feel comfortable, right? And
Mhm.
that there is trust, that it's okay for them to be able to say things, even if it is a bit unhinged at the time. Like,
Yes.
whoa, wait a minute, I never would have thought about that. But sometimes I have realized that by doing that and figuring out who and how many different people might be doing something, I can
Mm.
ask a question of, okay, who on your team is going to do this? Or
Yes.
which part of your team? I could then inherently start understanding how they're going to be able to start doing things, how they might respond. I'm starting to then maybe, ooh, I know that they're more of a bull in a china shop. Okay,
Yes.
maybe I need to help refine it or provide a different set of tools
Mm.
to them so that they can be more effective and mitigate the risks that I see, because I now know that they're not going to see it without me providing that information or
Yes.
that boundary. But if
Wow.
you clarify it, why you are giving them that tool or that restriction, then they're like, "Oh,
Yes.
I wouldn't have thought about that. Okay, got it, boss. Thanks. Let's do this."
Huh. That is really something. Okay, it looks like we are already running out of time. We could be talking to you for another hour or two. So, can you give me 5 more minutes before we
Yep.
close? Okay, let's talk about barrel strength leadership. I think we need to mention that, which is also the name of your organization. And I really love the name barrel strength leadership. What does barrel strength leadership mean to you, sir?
So barrel strength leadership comes from a couple of different parts. I've lived a lot of my time in the military in the southern United States, and so there's something uniquely U.S. in the fact that there's bourbon. So
Yes.
I'm a bourbon whiskey drinker. Some of the most insightful things I have ever come up with, or in a discussion with someone else, is over my favorite beverage.
Yes.
But a barrel strength whiskey is something that is not cut or filtered.
Mm.
It is unfiltered
Wow.
strength straight from the source.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a powerful thing. But then the bullet, a strength that comes from a barrel, provides the purpose, direction, contains an explosion,
Yes.
which can be the excitement and power of your organization, and gives it that purpose, direction
Mm.
of where it's supposed to go. And so that's what barrel strength leadership is all about. How do we get to the
Yes.
unfiltered, authentic you, your organization,
Mhm.
your leadership, and then help provide new direction and
Wow.
help contain that excitement in a way that is positive outcomes, right? And
That's
I
really
think
powerful.
and I think, how do you drive through complexity of when I can be getting 70,000 forms of input into my life
Mm-hmm.
right now, how do I cut through all of that to
Yes.
remain focused on the azimuth that I want for my organization? The
Yes.
more you can clearly define that desired outcome, the
Mm.
more people can understand and 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 help you achieve that, potentially further,
Mm.
faster, or better than you ever anticipated yourself.
That's really insightful because after almost 3 decades in uniform, why did you decide that your next mission would be developing leaders?
Because all of my successes are because people invested in me.
Mm.
I believe that spending time talking, discussing, thinking about leadership help people, adhere to and develop new standards for excellence and for themselves or their organization.
Mm-hmm.
It fills my buckets. When I see them go, "Oh, wow, I've had this problem for 3, 4 years, and the answer was staring me in the face. I couldn't see it until I just looked at it in a slightly different frame of reference." You just
Mm.
How many times have you sat through the same class and you hear it 3 or 4 different ways and you're like, "Okay, that did I can't
Yes.
understand that concept." But suddenly one person, one tutor, one mentor provides you that one different way of looking at it, a different analogy, whatever it may be, and
Yes.
suddenly it clicks. I love those moments. I just wanna be there for it. I wanna help people do that, and that's what
Mm.
really, um, gets me excited.
That's really powerful. And I think the way you do leadership development, sir, is very unique. Actually, I have a short clip I want to play. Maybe you can walk us through it because you do use battlefield staff rides as immersive leadership laboratories. No? For someone who has never experienced one, I think I have a short clip I can show. And on the other side, sir, if you can tell us
Yep.
more about it.
So this is about an offering that I'm doing as part.
During one of World War II's most pivotal battles, American soldiers faced impossible choices. Surrounded, outnumbered, cut off from supplies. Now you too can walk the same ground where defining leadership decisions were made. AUSA's Battle of the Bulge Inspiration to Lead experience. Join us for an immersive 2-day leadership journey through Bastogne, Belgium and Luxembourg. Guided by Army veterans, participants explore the battlefields where leaders made pivotal decisions under extraordinary pressure. But this isn't a history tour. It's an opportunity to experience leadership when uncertainty is high and every decision matters. Connect battlefield lessons to today's business challenges. Strengthen your decision-making and ability to communicate.
That is just so amazing, son. You've done some of that at Gettysburg as well. Can you tell us more?
Yeah, so if you're here in the United States and you want to do a one-day Gettysburg, very easy. A lot of businesses in and around the national capital region, but this is in particular in coordination with the Association of the United States Army. Uh, going to go to the Battle of the Bulge, Bastogne. That's the easy company fighting positions that you saw that picture right there and in the video. If you ever watched Band of Brothers and you watched them, sitting in a fighting position with the snow around them, go stand there. Think about the decisions they had to make, that they had to transition from being beaten on in a defensive position to then translating that into them becoming an offensively directed organization. How do you do that when you've been cut off? How do you build the resiliency in the organization and the people?
Wow.
That's what I love to do by being there. Oh, by the way, this is going to be in December, so you might get a little bit of the chilliness. You smell it, you feel it. That really cements leading or learning in a way that sitting in a traditional classroom where me saying, this is my patented 4 questions that you can ask yourself and that it's going to make you a better leader through crisis. That's only part of it.
That is really, really powerful. And how can people find out more? Where can they get more information, sir?
They could get more information. For that one in particular, you can go to AUSA, Battle of the Bulge. You can go to barrelstrengthleadership.org, which is the website, which is going there along the bottom. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn.
That is really, really powerful. And as we end, I know you read a lot and you talked a lot about history. I was able to get most of your recommendation here. One book that you absolutely recommend is No Better Place to Die by Robert M. Murphy. Why should my audience read this book?
This is about it's about 3 days. It's a 3-day battle. It's an area as part of, I served in the 82nd Airborne Division. So the Normandy invasion, it's the real version of the last half of what you see in Saving Private Ryan, the defense of a bridge and the how do you get over it when you have been defending and the Germans have been breaking themselves to try to get across this causeway. They make the determination of, do I leave or do I stay? Wow. And they make the determination that we are going to stay to the last. There is no better place to die. But they don't. They achieve that, and the next day afterwards allows us, the U.S. Army, to actually break out of the beachhead.
That is amazing. And you mentioned earlier Band of Brothers. I think HBO has a series on that too. Why should my audience read this book?
So Band of Brothers really gets into individual soldier stories, but also the uniqueness of dynamic leadership at the small unit level, because you watch them go from very junior people to very senior leaders within an organization over a period of time, and you're able to observe, looking in it, that which makes them unique. But it's a great microcosm of the greater part of what Tom Brokaw called the greatest generation.
And again, for those who are watching or listening, I will have a link. You can go through all of the books that the Colonel recommend for a full list. But the last book I want to talk before we end is Gates of Fire, which I copy right here. I don't know if it shows, but I usually don't read nonfiction, sir, but this one I read a lot, especially when it talks about what a king is. Toward the end of the book, I will tell His Majesty what a king is. That really, it stops me at my track every time I read it. Why is this book important to my audience?
I think, why are the 300 selected? The king chooses not only because of who they are as a fighter, they are everything that makes their society function. It's the junior most untested, it's the most seasoned individual, and it's more than just them as the individual. It's their family, their wives. What message will they carry on about it? I think it incorporates the depth of learning, and
Wow.
it goes backwards in time to everything that made one person think that this is the right place for me to be part of this organization by
Mm.
choice to be there.
That is powerful. All right, we do need to end the show. I've already used too much of your time, sir. But as we end the show, I want to actually before I ask you the last question, is there anything else, sir, you wanted to share today? Anything else you wanted to talk about? We didn't get
The
it.
only thing I wanted to talk about is book work is in the works. We're
Yes.
hoping to get that out there in the early new year.
Yes, sir. We definitely need it. And once you do so, please come back. And we're going to spend an entire hour on your new book. I'm sure it's going to be an instant bestseller. I really love the way you use history and military leadership and command on how to actually develop leaders, no matter which industry they are in, because those principles I believe are universal and they apply everywhere. So as we finish this, sir, after nearly 3 decades of service, for combat deployment, battalion command, developing commanders, and teaching strategy, studying history, and now developing civilian leaders as well, if you could pour everything you've learned about leadership into just one lesson for the next generation, what would it be?
Ooh. And I've said it before, but I'll make a slight adjustment to it. Investing in leaders, whether it's
Mm.
yourself or others, is the best investment you can make. Money is money, but people will have a greater return on investment than anything else that you could invest in. If you
Mm.
invest in yourself, your leadership, invest in others, they will make you a better leader,
Yes.
and it's well worth the time.
Wow. That's really insightful. I guess it's kind of the same question, maybe asked a different way. When your soldier from your battalion talk about you, sir, 20 years from now, what do you hope your soldier remember? Not about Colonel Hossfeld, but about Chris Hossfeld, the man.
What I always wanted soldiers to remember about me as an individual, not just me as the commander, is everything that I did was about them.
Wow.
It is about
Hmm.
saving, preserving life. It's about giving them the success, the tools for success, the resiliency to be able to respond in crisis when it's the worst case, that they are the ones walking out.
Wow. Well, for the junior officers listening, I know there is really nothing that builds trust more than really, truly caring for your people. Do that first. And like my primary mentor told me, take care of your sailor and they will take care of the mission. They will take care of you. Wow.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, sir. This has been a great honor. I know we've completely run out of time. I have a lot more questions, but we're gonna wait for you to come back probably next year whenever your book is published. And we are so grateful. Last question I have for you, sir. Just one word that describes our time here together on this podcast today. One word that comes to mind.
Amazing.
Wow, I am so grateful. Thank you, Colonel. Really appreciate your time and your wisdom today.
Thanks, BZ. It was great to be here.
All right, everybody. So again, make sure to follow the Colonel is accessible on LinkedIn, and you can also catch him on his website. And if you want to be a part of one of his leadership development, you absolutely have to do that. There is really nothing like it. So LinkedIn.com in Christopher-Hossfeld- looks like 635A80105 on LinkedIn. Just look for Colonel Christopher Hossfeld, and also on his leadership development website if you want to hire him or be part of what he teaches, barrelstrengthleadership.org. And again, he's going to have, I know it's going to be an instant bestseller next year, and make sure to join back in, and we're going to be talking about it. Now, later today, I will have a great honor and privilege of speaking to two of my shipmates. One right now who's still on active duty. is now a commander select. He just selected to commander. That's Anthony, Lieutenant Commander, now Commander select. Anthony is going to be joining us, I believe. Let me see. It should be 12 o'clock my time, Murphy. So we're going to be talking again about leadership. I like talking to him because, right now he's technically still a junior officer, but he's going to be pinning on 05 next fiscal year. And I want to talk about that transition, making it into the top 4% of military leadership. This is going to be quite a conversation. But then I will also be speaking to my old shipmate, and that's going to be about 4 p.m. California time. That's Lieutenant Commander Trina Martin. She's also the best-selling author of Amazing, From a Mess to Amazing, and also beyond the title. She's now a personal development coach and executive coach, and we're going to be talking about beyond the title, from personal transformation to leadership that changes lives. So I am looking forward to those two conversations with sailors. So that is going to be fun. And I don't think I have anything scheduled for tomorrow, but I think this Sunday I may go back and talk about the book of Proverbs. Not a religious podcast, but like we've been doing, focusing on wisdom and leadership lessons from a book written more than 2,000 years ago, and how those leadership principles are still applicable today. Okay, that's all I have for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I really appreciate all of the conversation. And by the way, we're going to have a new friend in the spotlight today. That's going to be Captain Cordell. It should be out on LinkedIn very soon. Thanks again, and bye for now.
Thank you for tuning in to the Leadership and Success Podcast with your host, Coach BZ. If today's episode added value to your leadership journey, be sure to subscribe, share, and join us again for more wisdom nuggets on how to lead better and achieve greater success. Remember, leadership is the most critical skill of our time. The world will always need leaders to inspire others, drive innovation, and execute meaningful strategy. So why not count yourself among the bold leaders shaping the 21st century? Until next time, stay inspired, stay committed, and keep leading with excellence.